Hello gamers, it is time for another episode of Let's Play the Repopulation.
Hello gamers, I am Tigwyk, this is the Repopulation, and I'm here playing Testy McTesterson, going through some of the changes in the previous patch that dropped a week and a half, it dropped at the beginning of the month, and I just haven't got around to kind of summarizing what's changed in the recent patch. There's been some bigger changes that you would notice right away, and if you're a player who's actually been playing the game, and unlike me, unfortunately, lately, who just hasn't had a lot of time to play, then you would have already seen these changes, but let's go through some of them anyway. So in combat, apparently some stuff has changed to make openings and sort of combos more feasible, more workable right now. So let's see, when you have, I've got rifles that I use right now on Testy, and I've got a rifle equipped, and you can see my abilities down here are rifle-based abilities. These are not, you can ignore a bunch of these, but everything over here. So I've got things like butt attack, which does a dazed opening. So that means that when I actually attack using butt attack, it has a chance of applying, well, I don't know if it has a chance, but it applies dazed. I'm assuming it's a chance to apply the dazed opening. And dazed is an effect. It's a debuff kind of that the NPC, I believe the notes say that the NPC is stuck. They're probably temporarily stunned, dazed, and they can't move for a bit. And other skills, other abilities can play off that and, do more if you if they pick up on that. Now I don't know if I have any that actually play into dazed. Let's see. I don't think so. And Testy's just not that powerful yet. And I have one more rifle tactics I could learn on him, but I don't think that makes use of it either. Let me see here. Aim shot, blah, blah, blah. No. Okay, so this is not the best example, but eventually what they're hoping to do is have abilities that chain off other abilities so that you initiate combat. You might say put the NPC into a daze and then have an ability that when they're in a daze does a bazillion more damage, or it then knocks them down, and then perhaps you have an ability that plays off knockdown and say if they're knocked down then it does a bunch more damage, or maybe then you can, with this ability that does, if they're knocked down, perhaps the other ability that you hit them with can make them bleed. And so just chaining all these effects together and getting maximum damage output, maximum control of your opponent in combat is kind of the direction they want to head in. They want to give you more control, more ability to feel like you actually control the fight, or you at least have some control over the fight in combat with the NPCs and stuff. Now, one cool thing that I noticed is that they've added some camera shake when you're firing your weapon now, so I'm firing off my rifle and it feels like I'm kind of going the rifle actually feels like it's got some kick to it now. All it took was a tiny bit of camera shake, you see the little tiny bit of camera shake there, and it just feels like those few shots I'm firing off actually have some firepower behind them now. That is enough for me to feel like combat's a little bit cooler now. Even if I'm still doing the same old stuff to the same old mobs, it feels now like I'm really kicking their butts because of just that little tiny change to the camera shake when it comes to firing. I think I've noticed that when I was playing Tigwyk, the Tigwyk character earlier, I was doing some abilities that did off balance and stuff, and I'm fairly certain that I was able to chain them better now. That they actually do play into each other a little bit better now. Unfortunately, with Testy, because I only have very few rifle abilities with him so far, it's not the best example. But it's, you'll see what I'm talking about as soon as you play on your own character there and take a look at, you probably have a few abilities that could do some openings, and you might even have an ability that plays off those openings, whether it's dazed or bleeding or, well, this doesn't have one, these do not have one. Kick does an off-balance opening. Suppressing fire does a stunned opening. So, things like that. You probably have stuff that can play off that as well. So take a look at your character now if you haven't, and you might feel like you have a little bit more control in combat now, right? So that's the combat stuff, and I'm sure that there's other stuff here I could show you, but I haven't yet because there's a lot that's changed in the recent patch. One thing, once I get rid of this Setlang, who is chasing me around, go away, thank you, is harvesting has changed fairly dramatically in the last major patch. So if I can find a node to harvest, which will be closer to, where am I? Oh, Plymouth is this way. I believe I saw some harvestable nodes closer to the city. I can get back to Plymouth here. Running through the forest. Let's see. There was geel flowers around somewhere. No, nothing's around. Oh, there. Okay, all the way over there. And there's something else chasing me. Jeez, I am a Setlang magnet tonight. Just come on. Look, just die. Just please, just do me a solid and just flop over on there. Thank you. Just flop over and die. Okay, I'll make my way over this way, away from the vulture over there. Well, I'll shoot the vulture because it's kind of fun. And now, one thing I have noticed, which may just be a key mapping problem or something else, is that I used to be able to quickly double tap certain keys to roll, you know, to evade, to dodge. I can't seem to do that anymore. As you can see, I'm attempting it, and nothing's happening. So I don't know if that's just a key mapping change, or if that feature is temporarily changed or disabled or something, but I'll try and find out more as we go forward. You can see here, I've got a geel flower in front of me, and I'm about, actually, so this is a lilac in front of me here, and I will interact with it. I'll start harvesting. The harvesting screen, as you can see here, I'll drag it in the middle so you can see it better, has changed dramatically. So now we have, hopefully this will not time out on me while I'm showing you, but you have the range, it will. Maybe I can do it again. We have the range, nope. Okay, that was frustrating. Basically, the top bar there was the range of the region. If I can find another one really quickly here to show you. Here's one. So up here we have the range of the region, and we have a vulture attacking me. We have our skills. My foraging is only at 5. My geel flower knowledge is very low. Let me just kill off this vulture. And I'll get back into there in a sec. Wow, this is... the wildlife here really doesn't want me to show off the changes. If I can just get away from these setlangs and vultures just enough so I can explain what's going on. And one more try. This here is the node grade. This is the actual node you're harvesting. The center letter and digit are the current grade that it's on. And if I open another one here, the range is from F6 to F7. So I can attempt to, well, and I failed in that case, but I can attempt to basically enhance it to the max range that it shows there. And if I find another one just over here, I can show you what that is. But it used to be that max was always B9, right? So the region could only go to B9, and the actual, no, I can't, why can't I harvest that one? Well, that's weird. Maybe it's laggy. And there should be more over here, so I will run this way and demonstrate. So they used to be B9. B9 was the maximum you could increase. You could max out the quality. Sometimes you could jump it over because there was some bug. So sometimes you could jump it over to B0 or sorry A0. Wow, I can't interact with this with these. Oh, weird. Okay, because it's like a broken node or something. You notice how when I hover over it, it doesn't actually have a tooltip or anything. So that's kind of strange. Maybe this one over here. Yes. Okay, this geel flower has something. I can actually interact with it. Or can I? Nope. Okay. Well, something's weird with my character. I really wanted to quickly show you that again, but maybe I'm going to have to relog here in a second if I want to show you the differences in the screen, because it does not want me to... Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the lowest that the grades can be. The highest is F7 at this point. If I want to, like, say, enrich the region, maybe this will buy me some time while I try and work on enriching the region. Or not. What? Oh, that must have been another... Okay, let's try this again. I think I'm lagging hard enough that it's kind of screwing things up here when I'm trying to demo this. Let me just enrich the region, and it will not move. Oh, I can't enrich it past F6, apparently. Even though technically F7 is the max there. I think I found a bug. I will have to report that. So the node can now go up to a variable max grade, depending on your skill in the sort of the main harvesting skill and your knowledge of the plant or the mining rock, whatever the heck it is, the mineral. That means you can max out now at much, much higher grades, but it takes a bit more, and there's a higher chance of failure on the way. So I can only, because I'm terrible at foraging on Testy, I can't max this at anything more than F7 quality. And especially because I'm roaming around right outside Plymouth right now, that's the best that you're... I mean, in any safe areas, especially after this patch now, the quality of harvesting nodes, the whack-a nodes as they call them, these click nodes where you actually just interact with it to click, that they've gone down dramatically surrounding the safer areas. So in order to get better quality, you really have to venture a lot farther out there now into the areas where you're a lot more vulnerable and there's a lot higher level mobs, or have a higher skill level mobs. But the quality of the stuff that you can get from being out there is much more reasonable. And there's been some pretty big backlash from the player base on the forums and everything about that, because immediately as soon as the patch dropped, people were just like, "Blah, I can't find the materials I want anymore. I have to go traveling for 2 hours." And the whole problem was that before, it wasn't balanced the way it was supposed to be, so it was really easy to just hang out around here, and if you had maxed out your foraging or your mining, and you had maxed out, maybe not maxed out, but if you had a really high mining or foraging or logging, and really high knowledge in the actual subspecies, the species knowledge, then you could basically guarantee yourself B9 or A0 materials every time, just by enriching the region enough to get it so that you can get to that number, like every time. And people got accustomed to that, and it became the norm, and all of a sudden, when we saw this as a major problem, the only grades of quality that people wanted to use were, you know, B9 or A something or whatever, and you could never, you know, you could never sell anybody anything below that. People just wouldn't. They would use it as burner grade. They would use it as you know, they would level up their skill using that. They wouldn't even make quality materials, you know, products that they want to sell to anybody with those things. And now, what you're going to find is that you have to deal with these lower quality things because it takes a lot of effort to go out into the world and find the resources you need at higher levels, at higher grades. And then you have to work at, you know, enhancing the region or enriching the region or enhancing the node, and that has a higher chance of failure, and it's very much more based on your skills. So overall, it's much more skill-based rather than simply luck-based, and it's also much more in line with the danger level of the area you're in when it comes to what you're going to find out there. And just, again, because the norm before was not this, even though it was supposed to be, everybody was sort of lulled into this sort of, well, I can get really cool materials and I don't really have to work that hard. And now it's like you have to work really hard, and a lot of people are very put out by this. Which, I mean, I think it fits. I think that it was supposed to be this way from the beginning. We knew that. It felt too easy, and I think that some people took that for granted, and now they're kind of hurt about it. Well, that's just too bad. That's just the way the game goes. It's in alpha, things change every day. And this is just the nature of it, right? So I showed off the new crafting, the new harvesting nodes there. That's different. There's been several other changes that I should probably at least gloss over here so we can talk a little bit about them, because there've been, you know, they're good, and they're things that are making, you know, they show progress in the game. You know, progress that the developers actually care about this game, moving it forward to completion, not just moving it forward to a point where they can just give up and make a bunch of money, because these guys are invested. They really want to play their own game. They really want to love their own game, and they do, and that's why they keep making it better and better for us, right? So, if we start at the top of the list of interesting things that have been improved in this patch, Npc Pathfinding has been improved. Hopefully that'll mean that when they're running towards you or walking around stuff, they won't be running over weird materials anymore, or you know, I mean, sometimes it would just look so broken, such immersion-breaking actions as like walking on rooftops or having NPCs walk through lakes to get to you, and just weird things like that, right? We talked about the combat tweaks, the openings, and the combo chaining. NPCs that are above average, I don't know if you've seen them around. I don't think I can demo one here because I don't think there are any right around here in Plymouth, but NPCs that are above average, you see down here, if I bring up the tooltip for the set lang, if I hover over it, and it's, oh, okay, well, anyway, maybe I can do it this way. No. You know, when you hover over them and you have the tooltip in the bottom and it says, you know, minion, or in sometimes it says above average, or it says, you know, boss or mini boss or raid boss. Any of those that are above average or higher have now increased their hit points a little bit. I suspect that's because they just weren't in line before, and some people were able to solo some bosses and mini bosses and stuff before, and now they shouldn't be able to do that as easily because they have received a hit point bonus. What else? NPCs should now use more variety of damage types. That'll be kind of cool because a lot of the stuff we see right now is just the basics of like, you know, physical damage and very little energy or any of the cool ones. And hopefully now we'll see a little bit more of that. And this Setlang is probably going to attack me in a moment here, so let's just kill him off before he runs at me. Or, well, I'll make him run at me, eating my bullets. What else? There are a bunch of new engagements. Those are the sort of open public quests that happen around you when you're in various places. And some of the cool new ones are like bandit camps that will appear on roads between major cities and outlets and stuff. And you'll be thinking you're safe, driving your cycle along the way, and all of a sudden you hit like a roadblock and there's a bunch of bandits there ready to attack you, and it becomes on the, you know, how over here on the just between the mini map and the actual quests, it shows up in orange as an engagement. And so that's one of the new engagements, as well as some other ones just in various cities and in the other places. We have 74 new ability icons, one of which you can see because it just inadvertently changed. I had created an alias on my bar down here for vehicle spawn 1, which basically spawns my cycle. And that icon initially was something else, and now it's changed because they've obviously added a bunch more icons, and the ID number of that icon probably changed, so it's changed to something else. Though the fire looks pretty cool. I kind of like, I want to keep that icon because it actually looks pretty cool now. But they've added 74 new ability icons, whether they're combat or not. Just 74 brand new ability icons that came in as the last patch. So there's a lot more variety in the icons, and they probably a lot of them look more like what they're supposed to versus, you know, a placeholder icon or sharing an icon with something else that perhaps just had a slightly different color set to it, and now it probably has a very fitting icon. I don't know because none of mine changed besides that one, but I'm sure this has happened. What else? Okay, so in housing, there's been some big updates in the housing. Some stuff like storage in your housing. So now you actually have proper storage units that you can buy and attach to storage structures, and those storage structures can be placed in your house, and you can now actually have proper storage that isn't just a bank or your inventory. They scale up in cost, and you can assign a certain number of them to the structures, and they're limited in some way. I will attempt to do an updated housing video where I show once more of the new changes come in that are going into housing, perhaps even sieging. I will I'll try and introduce another video to show off these features, because some of the stuff is really cool, and I'm sure you want to see it. And right now you're seeing Testy walk around a landscape here. So housing storage, vendors. Player vendors now will store with your house if you pack it up. So if you do the housing store or whatever the heck it is to pack up your housing plot, and if you want to move it to a different location, that's a really cool feature that you can do. But now your vendors, instead of before where you had to empty your vendor and probably I think even sell off or get rid of the vendor because it wouldn't store, all your stuff now stores with that. So your vendor can be picked up and packaged and moved to a different location with your housing, and you don't have to worry about the expenses, because the vendors are like 5K a piece for player vendors, and that's not a non-trivial amount, right? And finally, in housing, they believe they fixed the rent bug that was happening, where some people would not be able to hit the rent button in their housing. If I go into housing and instance plot, my plot. So under here, normally it'll show that you have, you know, like a plot of some sort that you pay rent on, and the rent button was grayed out for many people. They couldn't hit rent, even though they might actually owe rent, and the plot is counting down the days to destruction, because after a certain amount of time it evicts you if you haven't paid rent. It was not allowing them to pay rent, so they eventually got evicted without having any control over that. A lot of people were put off. I would be put off. They fixed it. They believe they fixed it. From what I'm hearing, it has been resolved, so that's great. Moving on. Missions. There are a bazillion new missions out there. The patch notes just kept it going and going for missions. I didn't want to have to tell you every single one, because there literally are like 50 to 100 new missions that just got added, and a ton of tweaks. A lot of mission chains, cool stuff with like mentoring style missions, where now you have to go like train some soldiers how to use the weapons that you're good at using already. Like if you have a certain skill level in, oh come on, silly vulture, I'm trying to do a tutorial or a video here. If you know, if you were really good at melee, for instance, and you had the prerequisite of, I don't know what level of melee you have to have it at, but say you were really good at axes and you had, I don't know, 1,000 skill in axes, then perhaps that quest chain opens up, or that mission chain opens up, where now you can go and you have to train like 7 different soldiers in the various uses of axes or other melee weapons, just things like that. Kind of neat. So there's a bunch of those, and then they've added the ability to share various types of missions now. So if you have a mission, like I've got a bunch of these, I don't know if I can share any of these, but sometimes now apparently there'll be a share button next to here. I don't think I can share any of these because these are all generated missions, and generated missions probably can't be shared. But if it was a mission that came in because I'm fighting something, like if it's a Lusu camp mission because I'm right next to one and it wants me to eliminate, you can probably share that. And now your friends in your party with you can get the same mission and do the same thing that you're doing and kick some butt. Feldrune. The bosses in Feldrune were scaled up only in actual like physical size, so they're just bigger because before when some nation mates and I were running around in Feldrune doing some testing, which I wish I could release the video, but the video is just not very good. We had fun, but my video is just terrible. Though it's Feldrune's the raid. I don't know if you knew that. It's kind of the main raid right now that's available to go do. And the bosses didn't feel like they were scary enough. They didn't really feel imposing enough. I don't know if anybody, if you've played World of Warcraft, usually the raid bosses in World of Warcraft are like 10 times the size of your character and really make you feel small and insignificant. And that when you do, you and a team of people take out this boss, it's like a real big achievement, right? The Feldrune bosses were big, but they weren't big enough to make it feel like you were really accomplishing anything when you beat them. They just felt like slightly larger versions of the same mobs that you see around town. And now, hopefully, they'll feel much more imposing and scary and really give you that kind of immersion atmospheric effect of like, whoa, this is a boss. This is really a boss, right? So that's kind of neat. Pets. So there have been a bunch of new pet buff things that if you have the pet abilities and you are a pet person, whether it's the I guess it's probably the tamed. I don't know. Do the GE pets have the same thing? I haven't looked into that. I will have to look into that. But from what I hear and what I've been reading in the patch notes, there are now different sort of stances of a sort that you can put your pet into to do more damage or to defend better or to do certain other things. And you can do it on one pet, each pet differently, I think, and you have to have your animal handling focus or something ability active in order to do it. But basically, like, you can put it in, give it an attack, like command attack, where now all of a sudden it will do a little bit more damage, and the buff lasts for like an hour or something like that. And so just different things like that to make your pets a little bit more customized. Maybe you want to change the situation around and you want them to be tanking for you, so you turn on the defend instead of the attack, and now they can, absorb a little bit more damage for you instead of going out there and killing everything and maybe dying to mobs that are a little bit harder than them. Perhaps they can take a few more hits and you can actually have them tank a bit for you now. Stuff like that. It's kind of neat. That'll give more variety to people who really like having pets, and it just gives you more options, right? Options are always good. In PvP, just a quick note, and I think that's probably near the end of the worthwhile patch notes worth talking about, but in PvP they've reduced the damage that you do to other people in PvP. So the reason that was done was because PvP was too fast. Even when I've been in it, sometimes a fight would be over in 5 seconds because one person just spammed everything they had at you and it just fired off and blam, you end up dying. So now, hopefully, the encounters will go a little bit longer. It'll feel like you have a little bit more control over the actual fight, and you can dodge and do whatever you want instead of running in there and just getting your ass handed to you in a second or two because you didn't know what you were getting into. At least now you can, run around, maybe even have a chance to run away because you won't be getting hit as hard. Or you can spin it around and maybe you can survive a bit more damage now and actually have a chance to try out your abilities on somebody instead of just turning tail and running because of the amount of damage they would output on you. I have encountered a couple times where on a lower level, like a lower skilled character like Testy, going up against somebody who's been playing for a while and has rifles that say 6,000 means that they have a bazillion more abilities and they can do a lot more damage, probably because they have more fittings and more points to put fittings onto their weapons. So automatically they're going to have an advantage. And sometimes the fight would just last nothing at all. It would just go. And I'd be lying there like, what happened? So now, hopefully, I'll have an extra 5 or 10 seconds to run away if I encounter a situation like that, or maybe even hold my ground for 5 or 10 more seconds. That should make PvP a bit more interesting and maybe even entice people to try out PvP more than they are right now. So I know that is not the exhaustive list of updates, because there are quite a few. But the harvesting updates here are kind of neat, and they give you more ability to get higher grades if you've put the effort into training up your harvesting ability or your mining, whatever it is you're doing. If you really get the proficiency of the knowledge of the subsistence, like if I can bring up the subsistence, is that K? No, that, oh, maybe knowledge. Yes. So like lilac, I have 6 of 6 because I guess I just have to actually do one more lilac and get one more point to roll over to the next skill. But my lilac is low, but it's better than, say, if I was going to go out and farm some albus. I would be really, really terrible at albus and slightly less terrible at harvesting lilac. And those now play a lot more into the harvesting experience, whereas before they were kind of there, but now it's much more about your proficiency and your actual skill in harvesting, foraging, mining, whatever the major harvesting you've chosen to do is. And then the region you're in, that's a big deal. You want to go farther away if you want to look for better stuff, because like I'm here in Plymouth and I'm finding F quality everything. And even if I were to enrich the region with higher, because I had a higher skill, which I don't right now, so I can't show you, but even if I were to enrich the region in this area, it wouldn't be able to get that high because it's capped in these areas. The spawn is only going to be able to go up to a certain maximum region, grade, just because they don't want you to be able to sit outside the safest city in the friggin' game and get the best materials. That kind of ruins it for everybody, right? Yeah, I'm running out of steam here. I don't think I don't really have anything more to show. Those were kind of the fun ones to show off in this one, and I know the other patch is dropping in the next couple weeks. That's going to show a lot more big changes of various things. And at that point, I'll do another one. I'm sure I'll have another follow-up video with just me actually showing off more stuff, or perhaps a long play over the weekend if I can get to it. I really hope to get to it. I do apologize for slowing down on these. It's just been a rough couple months with work and everything else going on. And that's just my life, and you don't have to worry about me. It's all good. And hopefully I'll be able to produce more of these and give you more content pretty soon. If you do enjoy my videos, please subscribe. I try to release them fairly frequently, and if you subscribe, then you obviously get the notification that they've come out. Hit the like down below the video if you did like it. Otherwise, oh, that's fine. You can dislike it too. That's okay. And leave a comment or ask me some questions. I love to interact with my viewers and even anybody in the game, or just you as a person. I'm sure I would love to interact with you because I just love interacting with people. So drop me a line and I will say hello, and we can chat. Aside from that, I will see you in the next video.